Failed art often carries with it a harsh sense of sorrow. A vision that goes nowhere, hours, days, weeks, years of love, work, and dedication, all culminating in ultimately nothing. Anyone who has any sort of creative drive can relate to the feeling of sorrow that comes with this, I think. And probably also a fear that their work will also be forgotten. This is mainly what I thought of when I finished Kaena the Prophecy for the first time. Kaena the Prophecy is a French CG film released initially in 2003, and then an English language version was released in 2004. It was directed by Chris Delaporte and Pascal Pinon. Written by Chris Delaporte, Patrick Dyer, and Tariq Hamdin. I had never heard these names before doing research to write this script, but Chris Delaporte will come up again in this video. I've heard it credited as the first CG feature-length film to come from Europe. I haven't seen anything contradicting this, but I haven't seen anything confirming this either. So if anyone watches this and has knowledge that contradicts this, let me know. I hate staying wrong more than I hate being proven wrong. Surprisingly little backstory is given on this movie. Wikipedia, which of course is the most reliable source, states that the movie began as a video game project in 1995 when Chris Delaporte left the game company of Eric Shahi, who Eric Shahi is a well-known name in video games because he is the main brain behind such games as Out of This World and Heart of Darkness, which are cinematic platformers. So Chris Delaporte left Amazing Studios, which is Eric Shahi's video game company, and he began work on Kaena the Prophecy as a video game, but apparently at some point that morphed into a movie. No other information is given as to the genesis of this movie, but that's what I could find. There is a making of video on YouTube. It's apparently ripped from the PlayStation 2 game, which was a Japanese exclusive developed by Namco. I have downloaded the game. I have not played it. The making of is definitely interesting. Honestly, pretty sad, because you have all these different creative minds talking about the process of making the movie. They're talking about how they wanted this to be a movie made for older people, more mature audiences. They really wanted this to be something special. And a lot of the animators are talking about how difficult the movie was to make because they didn't have access to the proper technology. They didn't have access to the right software or the right hardware. They didn't have access to the kind of hardware that made, say, Toy Story. They were stuck using the kind of software that one would use to make the CG scenes in video games at the time. Final Fantasy X, the FMVs, that kind of technology. Personally, I think Final Fantasy X has aged pretty well. That being said, the FMVs in Final Fantasy X only last a few minutes at most and were made with a pretty high budget, whereas Kaena the Prophecy, according to this making of, had very little to no budget. The whole movie is this CG. The movie's about 90 minutes. The time definitely does not do this movie any favors. But I bring up the making of and I bring up the backstory because I want it to be understood that this was not a shameless cash grab movie. This is not Minions. This is not Secret Life of Pets. This is a labor of love and something that the people who made it were very passionate about. I just want that to be remembered because I'm about to be very mean to this movie. I just want it to be remembered that this is a labor of love, but sadly that this labor of love failed. So initially, when I was writing the script, I had written a pretty lengthy recap of the entire movie. But after reviewing this, I realized that this recap was possibly longer than the actual movie. So I decided not to do that. If you really want to understand this video and what I'm talking about, go watch the movie. It's about $4 to rent to watch for a day, and if you really want to own it forever, it's like $13. I own it forever. it will stay in my Amazon Prime Video library forever until the heat death of the universe, right next to Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods. Yes, those are the only 2 movies I have in there. Let's talk about the positives. There are interesting ideas thrown in here and there. The concept of a world that was created by a literal cosmic accident. The idea of 2 alien races who have basically caused each other to go functionally extinct. The idea of false gods leading the people out of a shameless sense of self-preservation. There are interesting ideas. They aren't fully realized in any meaningful way, but they're pretty neat. It's an ambitious film. The English dub has prominent voice actors. It has, for example, and this is not all of them, Kirsten Dunst, Tom fucking Kenny, John DiMaggio, Tara motherfucking Strong, Angelica Houston? I don't know how to fucking say it. And Keith motherfucking David. Actual voice talent aside, though, the delivery is stilted and weird. Keith David gives the best performance in this, but honestly, Keith David could voice a fucking Pokemon and say nothing but Squirtle the whole time, and I would praise him for his deep performance and his strong understanding of the character. Keith David aside, a lot of the delivery is pretty just not good. You've got some lines delivered like it's a Saturday morning cartoon. You've got some lines delivered like it's their first time speaking English. In a bizarre way, it reminds me a lot of Sonic Adventure, where a lot of the people recording the lines in that game, they hadn't heard the lines delivered by the other characters. Often conversations just kind of go in bizarre directions, tonally speaking. The words make sense, but the way they're being spoken doesn't. The elephant in the room, the CG has aged like milk. I didn't watch this in 2004, but I cannot imagine it looked good then either. Now, I'm not blaming the filmmakers for the CG having aged like milk. As I've mentioned before, they had a budget of maybe $20. I'm just saying it just doesn't look good. A lot of the character design is pretty bad. The non-human characters don't look too bad. My major gripe is with all the human characters. All of them except for Kaena have these bug eyes that I really don't like. They look frightening. Kaena's design is bad for a whole host of reasons. For whatever reason, for most of the movie, Kaena is almost naked. There's plenty of times where you can just see her butt crack because of her outfit. And a lot of characters just have weird faces, especially the human characters. A lot of dialogue comes off as pretty weird too, and that may be because of the stilted delivery. There's a part in the movie where there's a character that is talking down to Kaena because this character believes themselves to be intellectually superior in every way to Kaena. Just the way they word their insults, it comes across as very cartoonish. I know that they're not aiming this at children because the making of said that they are aiming it at teenagers and adults. Just an addendum, recording this after the rest of this, I know that I'm talking about the English version of the film, but I don't have the patience to look for, listen to, and critique the French version of the film. Also, I don't feel like reading subtitles for this. So it all just comes together and it's just, it isn't good. So what can we learn from Kaena the Prophecy? One lesson that can be taken away is sometimes you pour all of your time, money, energy, love, and passion into something and it fails anyway. It's a pretty shitty lesson to learn. Maybe if the team had come out with more movies, they could have built up a name for themselves. And Kaena would just be a bizarre stepping stone in their history. But judging from how they talked about making the movie, it just doesn't seem like that was something they were able to do. They obviously didn't have the budget to do something like that. They damn sure didn't make the money they spent back, because the movie sold like shit. Nobody went to see it in theaters. Nobody bought it except for a few people. I don't know where a lot of the people who worked on this movie are now. I'm honestly afraid to look them up, because if I were to look them up and find that they had never worked on anything creative like this again and just gone back to working in mundane jobs, that would just break my heart. The big exception to this is Chris Delaporte, who I looked up before working on the script, and it seems that he's gotten big directing commercials. His commercials all seem bizarre and experimental. They really do convey a vague feeling more than a direct message. And that's really all I have to say about Kaena the Prophecy. Either the making of the movie or the movie itself, or how I feel about the movie. That really is all I have to say. So as I was trying to figure out what I was going to put for the background of this video, I realized that the perfect solution to my problem was putting footage of the video game. This avoids any issues with putting movie clips and also isn't completely irrelevant. The problem arises with the fact that the video game is garbage. So earlier when I mentioned the game in passing, I mentioned that it was only released in Japan, which I still don't quite understand why that was. The game was developed by Namco. Imagine, if you will, Devil May Cry, but there is no fun to be had in the combat because there's no strategy whatsoever. The controls are god-awful. For example, you don't move with the analog stick, you move with the directional buttons. Also, it's tank controls for whatever reason. All of the backgrounds are pre-rendered. The only reason pre-rendered backgrounds are a problem is because they lead to increasingly confusing camera angles. There's no strategy, there's no fun, there's no... All of the things that make Devil May Cry and games like it fun are absent completely from Kaena the video game. I don't know what motivated them to make a video game and yet put such little effort into the game itself. Which contrasts pretty heavily from the movie itself, which you can tell is a labor of love that didn't quite hit the mark. And yet here you have this game that is so clearly just lazily slapped together because they wanted a video game. Hello, this is my first time actually recording an outro. I don't know how to end videos just yet. So, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Did I already say that? I already fucking said that, didn't I? Whatever, I'm not re-recording this. I've recorded this like 6 times already, trying to get it right. What you're looking at now, because I have changed the visuals into looking at the artwork that my friend Kelp did for the video. It's also going to be the thumbnail. So, go check her out. She's got a YouTube channel where she live streams her drawing stuff. I absolutely love her art. She volunteered to do this. She didn't ask to be paid, so the least I can do is direct you towards her stuff. There will be a link in the description for her Redbubble as well. Also in the description will be the link to her YouTube channel, the link to my Discord, which is 15 and up, please. I've had like 11-year-olds join. I don't want 11-year-olds joining. And also my Patreon, where you can donate $3 a month. And I advise you don't do that, because I don't think what I do is worth anyone's money. But some people want to donate anyway, so there's that. That's really all I have to say. So, buy local honey and get the hell out of here.